Assalamualaikum to our lecturer, Ms. Nordiana binti Ibrahim, and friends. In this slideshow, our group will present about forest plantation. Forest plantations are not new in concept and practice for Malaysia. However, interest in forest plantations lacked the required impetus in the distant past. It has vacillated quite a bit, influenced on one side from fear of impending timber deficits in the future and poor results from planting trials. Up until the 1970s, Malaysia was endowed with vast areas of natural forests. Under such superfluity, it was considered unnecessary and unnatural to convert natural forests into unstable monocultures. Forest plantations are defined as those forest stands established by planting or and seeding in the process of afforestation or reforestation. They are either of introduced or indigenous species with a minimum area requirement of 0.5 hectare tree crown cover of at least 10% of the land cover and total height of adult trees above 5 meter. Industrial plantations provide the raw material for wood processing for commercial purposes, including timber for construction, panel products, and furniture, and also pulpwood for paper. In contrast, non-industrial plantations are aimed, for example, of supplying fuel wood, providing soil and water conservation, wind protection, biological diversity conservation, and other non-commercial purposes. Plantations of non-native species are grown worldwide, and many are more productive than native species. Forest plantation contribute to nearly 35% of the world's fruit product, although it covered less than 5% of total world forest area. Forest plantation required vigorous management inputs like agriculture sector than to traditional management of native species forests. For example, forest plantation might need in-depth site preparation, weed control, application of fertilizer and pesticide, frequent usage of heavy machines during harvesting and planting process that could negatively impact the soil. Usually, smallholders or plantation company open their business on abandoned agricultural land and it seems acceptable as landscape components. There are few issues that happen in forest plantation that become obstacles for this industry to grow and expand. The first issue is land. It is a fact that land is the world's most valuable resource, and with each passing year, public scrutiny of land is getting more intense. A large area is required to make a forest plantation investment commercially viable. If the wood or timber is for sawmill and furniture production, an area of around 15,000 to 20,000 hectares would be enough. However, to establish a chip or pulp and paper mill need an economic size plantation, which around 90,000 to 200,000 hectares. It is always an ideal to acquire a land that close to basic amenities and have easy access road system within an economic range to mills or market. For example, the location of the plantation should be within range of 100 km radius to the mills. Otherwise, the cost for transport raw materials to process factory would be high and render the operations uneconomical.
For the first issue that faced by forest plantation is a labor. In plantation sector, labor supply is one of the main issues that faced by this sector. This issue happened in Malaysia because of young people are moving from the rural area to urban to join the factory sector. Young people are more attracted to join the factory sector rather than agriculture sector because they think working in agricultural sector is very tiring, low wages and not interesting or too challenging. Even though labor demand in forest plantation are lower than in agriculture, in an expanding Malaysian economy where working conditions in other industries are typically more favorable, they still have to compete for labor. It is normal for plantation sector to employ foreign workers. The method of foreign labor recruiting has never been successful. This method never be success because of weakness that contradictory with government sector policy about the recruitment of foreign employee along with the absence of foreign worker commitment resulting in extraordinary high labor turnover.
Species election. The Q&A analysis shows that 95% of all projects use exotics in 45 reforestation programs. 60% parallel with their project activities, 60% supplementary information over their lifespan that culminated in the selection of new organisms. Greater partiality is designed for the selection of exotic species. This is because there is typically a lack of sufficient information on the propagation of indigenous plants. There is a general surplus of seeds of exotic species. Exotic species are easy to treat, and exotic species are fast growing and high yielding. There is a tremendous challenge ahead of us to carry out effective research on native species in order to see their potential for forest plantation. Insufficient supply of attribute planting material. High levels of productivity are reaching when the genetic and physiological ability of the species is well balanced with management strategies that encourage accelerate growth. Valuable changes in essential properties such as stem shape and wood density can be achieved by selection and breeding. One big restriction actually considered the scarcity of good planting material for the numerous planting programs. Standard seeds and trees that have been picked and replicated by vegetative method are insufficient to fulfill existing and expected needs, though efforts are being stepped up to address this challenge. Intermediaries and day-to-day nurseries are supplying planting material whose genetic origins are undisclosed. FRIM with 4 private nurseries now step up the evolution of quality planting materials of the relevant species, while the Forest Department of Peninsular Malaysia is in the run for setting up a national seed and planting material procurement center in Lentang, Pahang to resolve this need as well.
The issues that happen in forest plantation are dragging this industry backward as the demand for its product keep rising every year. Timber and woods are essential raw materials for making houses, building, and especially furniture. Moreover, forest plantation also can help in conserving the ecological system such as the flora and fauna. Therefore, there needs to be overcome to ensure this industry could move alongside other major crops in Malaysia. These are some recommendations that we think it might help. The first suggestion is lower rental rate on land. Lack of available land for forest plantation on long lease periods, low rental, and land tenure security has always been an obstacle for the timber industry. This can be overcome by providing available land for interested farmers that want to involve in the tree farming cultivation at lower rental rate. Moreover, tree farming by the private sector on public or private lands should be market demand driven, whereas the farmer make an agreement with wood industries for it to become economically viable and sustainable. The government agency also can play a role by assisting in marketing the products for farmers to establish their timber depots. Government can also help in control the market, such as the price and other costs.
Attract young generation to join plantation sector. The labor shortage issue that faced by agricultural sector can be elevated by attract young generation to join this sector. Government and private sector should play the main role in order to attract young generation join this sector. The government should encourage the young generation to be involved in this sector by enhance the image of agriculture and more profitable. Government also should act for the safeguard the welfare of farm workers so that their fate is more secure. The government and private sector should promote this sector to young generation. They also can give a free training to young generation that want to join this sector. Other than that, this sector should increase their salary level because work in plantation is not an easy job. Lastly, this sector should increase the mechanization or technology to attract young generation join this sector. This is because young generation is a generation that are more exposed with technology and likely to work with technology. The use of modern technology facilities such as drone, sensor and robotic has become an important mechanism for the purpose of production and distribution of agricultural products that have been proved to increase productivity.
Focus on young plant development. Expansion of seedling in nursery is also an important and helpful thing to do because every plant have their own growth stage and requirement at immature stage. This will help more secure their growth without facing any competition with other big tree and other durable plant. Furthermore, the seedling also will grow with low disturbance and damage by possible pests and disease and animals. In the future, all of these seedling can be replanting onto land that want to recreate the.
As we know that human society are really need a forest and its product for continuation, it takes such an immense paradigm shift to transform our environment to one that does not rely on the forest. The depletion of forest wealth transcends territorial border and impact the world as a whole. In conclusion, we should optimize the forest and play the major role in order to protect the forest for next generation.